Okay, classic car sports fans, here we have my 1969 70 Series 1240Z. Fully original, fully back to factory spec, which means everything is as per how it left the factory, including the color. It's safari gold or mustard yellow, whichever you want to call it. But it is based off the factory color that we're able to trace back in the past. And this boils down all the way down to engine configuration, suspension, drivetrain, etc., etc. So a lot of people have been asking me on the L series engines in Malaysia whether they should go with triple Webers, 40s, 45s, or Solex, Mikuni, Dolorotos. Whatever it is, from my point of view, in terms of drivability and tunability, the original twin SU carburetors are the best. The most user-friendly, the easiest to tune, and the easiest to run about as a daily driver. Yes, these cars can be daily drivers. There is nothing wrong with using them daily. They will keep up with the traffic, and they are powerful, they are fast, they are smooth and reliable. This car will start in one crank, no issues. And I swear by these carburetors. They are so reliable. We have tuned it just one time and they work forever. So these are the twin carburetor that come in the Series 1s. In Series 2s, they came with Hitachi twin carburetors. You can see the difference with a more square body here. The Solex are rounded on the shoulders. Hitachis are square, and the Solex carburetors are the ones that made the most power. However, because of emission laws in the US, they had to change it in the Series 2 to Hitachis, which produce less power than these. They were the same in every way, just that the Hitachis were less powerful on the engine versus the SU carburetors. So these are my favorite. The second favorite is triple Webers or triple Mikunis, Solexes, which you can see on that car. Come. So my second favorites are these. These are actually triple Mikunis, Solexes on this L28 stroke to 3.1 liters. So this carburetor setup works very well with this engine because it's a 3 liter, 3.1, 3 liter, whatever. And it's a little bit more finicky than the SU carburetors found on the L24 and the 240Z. So it doesn't run as like clockwork versus the SU carburetors. We can tune it to a way where it almost gets to the drivability and the smoothness as the SUs, but regardless, it always lacks that little bit of usability versus the SU carburetors. If you ask me, this one's a little bit more sensitive to having a fine tune. You have to be really on it to tune it perfectly, whereas the SU carburetors, you can figure out a ballpark figure of perimeters of tuning and it will be more or less right, and it will stay right forever. These triple Webers, SUs, triple Mikunis, Webers, etc., they are a little bit more sensitive to making sure that you have to fine tune properly. Really fine tune properly, because you're trying to balance 3 carburetors amongst 6 pistons, and There's also a higher tendency for fuel leaks, higher tendency for failure. There are much more linkages here. The accelerator pedal becomes heavier because you're working against more springs. So overall, the car becomes a little bit more difficult to drive. So if it were me and I were to drive these cars all the time, every day, I'll just keep the double SU carburetors. That's what I think should go. That's the best option for L28 engines, L24 engines. Alright, on to the second topic of discussion, which is widening, over-fendering the car and lowering the car. As you can see, this blue car has had over-fenders fitted on. I've got really wide rims in this car. They are 12 inches wide, so I had no choice but to go with over-fenders and to cut the fenders. While doing that, I obviously had to lower the car as well, because if not, it will not look good. So I've got custom suspension set up all round with built-in camber plates. Again, if you ask me, if I were to do it again, I would have kept the car fully stock body, narrow body, without cutting the fenders, without having over fenders, and running on a much more narrow wheel and tire package. Same as what the factory wanted us to run in, seen on. Alright, as you can see, this ride height, this size of wheel and tire package, I'm running 195/55/15 on 7-inch wide rims, and it's a perfect fit. No fouling of the fenders, no rubbing on the inside wheel well, no problems. This is the perfect tire package. 195/55/15, 7-inch wide rims. This offset of the rims are zero offset, and they are totally flush. The wheel gap is huge, 4 fingers, but it's super comfortable, very nice to drive. I have no issues with bumps, etc. It tracks well, it holds its speed. It's a very disciplined car in this manner. Now, one thing a lot of people don't know, 240Zs have a very low belly. So although it looks high with a big wheel gap, the frame rails are actually very low to the ground, being a sports car. That's why every 240Z that you sit in, you get into a very sporty driving position. You're very low to the ground. Your bum is actually very low to the ground because the belly of the car is low to the ground. So in this ride height, with 2 people in the car, there is a tendency of rubbing against very hard, sharp speed bumps. So what more to say if your car is lowered like the 280Z I have? See, the stance on this 280Z is perfect. You've got very little wheel gap with the over fenders in place. 12-inch.
Can you continue?
12-inch wide rims with -22 offset, and I'm running, I don't even know what size tires this is. I think 225. 225/50/15, and it's already fouling the fenders here. I've got to push the caster back. That's one thing. But the other thing is the frame rail is super duper low to the ground, and this car will scrape every single bump that is on the road, no matter how high and no matter how low. So it is a hassle to drive. It makes me not want to drive the car so much. Although it's so nice to drive, just because of the ride height, I feel like I'm going to be abusing the car every time I go through speed bumps, which makes me not want to drive the car. Unfortunately, I love cars so much, and I love the way certain things look, but some things are just not practical to have, like having such a low setup in the suspension. So I'm going to raise the front up a little bit, hopefully get some clearance, and try to corner away the car. So I've got a bit of work left to do in this car. As you can see, I've changed the over fenders from the wide ones to the narrow ones just to get the aesthetics looking good and correct. So going back to the question, would I lower the car? Would I put over fenders? Would I mess up the naturally narrow body geometry of the car from factory? No, I will not. I think running the car in the stock standard factory narrow body setup is the best. And I spent so much money to actually repair these fenders and get it back to factory correct. But I also had to mess it up by cutting it and installing over fenders just so that I can fit this wheel package. So in the future me, note to self, don't do this anymore. Alright? Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed and learned something from this. Carry on saving this old gold, all these old gold, and stay tuned to the next one. Like and subscribe. Bye.